The comeback stories in boxing are often the most compelling. They carry the weight of disappointment, the pressure of expectation, and the uncertainty of whether a fighter can ever truly reclaim what was once his. For Victor Ortiz, this night was about far more than another victory on his professional record. After 15 long months away from the ring, after setbacks, criticism, and questions about where his career was headed, the former world champion stepped back under the bright lights with something to prove. Across from him stood Mexico's Saul Corral, a rugged veteran determined to spoil the return and earn the biggest victory of his career. What followed was a brutal reminder that Victor Ortiz still possessed the explosive power and aggressive style that once made him one of boxing's most exciting fighters. As the fighters were introduced, the atmosphere carried a sense of anticipation. Corral entered with respectable experience, 25 victories and 16 knockouts to his name. He was no newcomer and certainly not a stepping stone. Standing the same height as Ortiz and holding a slight reach advantage, Corral believed he had the tools necessary to frustrate the former champion. Ortiz, meanwhile, entered the arena carrying a record built through years of battles against elite competition. 31 victories, 24 knockouts, and experience on boxing's biggest stages gave him a significant edge on paper, but ring rust is impossible to measure. 15 months away from active competition can dull timing, confidence, and instinct. Nobody knew exactly what version of Victor Ortiz would show up. The opening bell answered that question almost immediately. Ortiz wasted no time establishing his presence. From the very first exchanges, he marched forward with purpose, firing a straight left hand directly through Corral's guard. The punch landed cleanly and instantly signaled his intentions. This was not a cautious return. This was not a fighter looking to shake off rust with a slow and measured approach. Ortiz wanted to make a statement. Corral responded by standing his ground and exchanging punches, but Ortiz appeared sharp. His footwork looked crisp, his conditioning appeared excellent, and most importantly, his punches carried authority. Every shot seemed designed not merely to score points, but to inflict damage. He attacked the body before moving upstairs, mixing hooks and straight punches with veteran precision. Commentators noted that Ortiz had spent years pursuing opportunities outside boxing. Acting appearances, television projects, and entertainment ventures had occasionally pulled his attention away from the sport. Yet in preparation for this comeback, he had stripped away those distractions. The focus was entirely on boxing once again. Looking at him in the ring, it was difficult to argue with the results. Corral attempted to settle into a rhythm, but Ortiz continually disrupted his efforts. A sharp uppercut snapped Corral's head backward. Moments later, another powerful left hand landed flush. Each successful punch seemed to increase Ortiz's confidence. The former champion was not simply winning exchanges, he was dictating every aspect of the fight. There was another source of motivation fueling Ortiz's performance. Just 1 month earlier, he had become a father. His newborn son, Victor Ortiz, had given him a fresh perspective and renewed purpose. Throughout training camp, Ortiz spoke repeatedly about fighting for his child. The responsibility of fatherhood had reignited a fire inside him, and that hunger became visible every time he stepped forward looking for another opening. By the end of the first round, Ortiz had already established control. Corral remained competitive, but the difference in power was impossible to ignore. Every Ortiz punch seemed capable of changing the fight instantly. As the second round began, Ortiz continued pressing forward like a man determined to erase every doubt surrounding his career. Corral tried boxing from range, looking to use movement and technique to slow the momentum. For brief moments, he found success, sneaking in counters and attempting to create angles. But Ortiz's relentless pressure never allowed him to become comfortable. The former champion stalked his opponent across the ring with the patience of a predator. When Corral retreated, Ortiz cut off the ring. When Corral attempted to clinch, Ortiz fought his way free and immediately resumed attacking. The pressure was constant and exhausting. At one point, Corral landed a respectable uppercut that briefly reminded everyone he remained dangerous. Yet Ortiz answered almost immediately with a crushing left hook over the top. The punch visibly shook Corral. For a split second, his legs appeared uncertain beneath him. The crowd sensed the momentum shift instantly. Ortiz recognized it as well. Sensing vulnerability, he surged forward. A right hook crashed against Corral's jaw. Another left hand followed. Corral's defensive posture grew increasingly desperate as he attempted to weather the storm. Referee Jack Rice repeatedly warned him for holding excessively, evidence of the pressure Ortiz was generating. Every time the fighters separated, Ortiz attacked with renewed aggression. The veteran's confidence seemed to grow with every successful exchange. This was the version of Victor Ortiz that fans remembered, the fearless fighter who thrived in chaos, who welcomed exchanges, and who carried fight-ending power in both hands. Corral's corner desperately searched for adjustments. His father and trainer urged him to use movement, stay disciplined, and avoid prolonged exchanges. But implementing a strategy and executing it against a determined former world champion are entirely different challenges. Ortiz's positioning was particularly effective. By maintaining outside foot position and closing distance efficiently, he consistently found opportunities to land his powerful left hand. Corral often appeared a step behind, unable to establish the spacing necessary to execute his game plan. As the fight progressed into the third round, the physical difference between the two men became increasingly apparent. Corral was working hard simply to survive exchanges, while Ortiz seemed energized by every passing minute. The former champion varied his attack beautifully. Hooks to the body softened Corral's resistance before straight punches targeted the head. Uppercuts emerged whenever Corral leaned forward. There was no predictable pattern, no single attack to defend against. Ortiz forced his opponent to think about multiple threats simultaneously. Commentators praised his conditioning and preparation. Despite the lengthy layoff, Ortiz displayed none of the fatigue or hesitation often associated with ring rust. Instead, he looked refreshed. The months away from competition appeared to have restored both his body and his motivation. Corral showed tremendous courage. Lesser fighters might have folded under such pressure. Instead, he continued throwing punches and searching for opportunities. Yet courage alone could not neutralize Ortiz's momentum. Midway through the third round, another heavy combination connected cleanly. Corral absorbed the punishment, but his reactions slowed noticeably. The accumulation of damage was becoming impossible to ignore. Ortiz remained disciplined. Rather than recklessly chasing a knockout, he continued breaking his opponent down methodically. Every punch carried intent. Every movement served a purpose. By this stage, the outcome felt increasingly inevitable. The fourth round began with Ortiz sensing that the finish was near. Corral's body language reflected a fighter who had absorbed significant punishment and struggled to keep pace with the relentless pressure. Yet he continued fighting, determined to extend the contest and perhaps find one dramatic opportunity. That opportunity never came. Instead, Ortiz elevated his aggression to another level. A devastating straight left hand pierced through Corral's defense and landed perfectly. The impact was immediate and unmistakable. Corral's equilibrium disappeared. His legs betrayed him as he stumbled under the force of the shot. The crowd erupted as Ortiz charged forward, recognizing that his opponent was badly hurt. What followed was a savage finishing sequence. Ortiz unleashed a barrage of punches from multiple angles. Hooks crashed into the sides of Corral's head. Straight shots split the guard. Every punch landed with frightening accuracy and force. Corral attempted to survive, but his reactions were delayed and his defenses increasingly ineffective. The referee watched closely as the assault continued. Another crushing left hand connected. Corral appeared lost, uncertain of his surroundings and unable to respond meaningfully. Ortiz sensed victory within reach and poured on even more pressure. The former champion was determined not to let this opportunity slip away. Referee Jack Rice stepped between the fighters and waved off the contest. The fight was over. Victor Ortiz had returned. After 15 months away from the ring, after enduring criticism, setbacks, and uncertainty, he had delivered a statement victory. The official time was 1 minute and 26 seconds of the fourth round. The result, technical knockout. The crowd celebrated as Ortiz climbed the ropes, soaking in the moment. For a fighter whose career had experienced dramatic highs and painful lows, this victory represented something far greater than a simple win. It was validation. Proof that he still belonged in professional boxing,